I mean, yesterday, why don't I tell you a little story, boys?
Okay, yeah, it's Connor story time.
Connor story
Can we get a
time.
graphic? Connor story time.
I went to the DMV.
Gather around the camp. Oh my god, this is already sounding
This
horrible.
is not a campfire story.
This is already
This is
sounding
a
horrible.
horror story.
So, as you guys know, none of us have the ability to drive in Japan, but we all have the licenses in our own respective country.
Yes.
Yes.
And I thought, well, one of us needs to do it. I'll do it. I like driving. Gon hates driving. And Joey's just Joey. So Joey just stands there being like, I don't want to do
I'm
anything.
helping.
Yeah.
Joey doesn't want to spend a whole day at a DMV.
No.
And more, probably.
Yeah.
Like, from my relationship with driving is that it literally serves a purpose. Like I don't care if I can get from point A to point B in a way that's like other than driving or someone else can drive me, I don't care. If I have to drive, I'll fucking do it. But
I can afford an Uber.
I'm
now.
convinced that you wanted to become a rich person just to get a chauffeur. That's like eventually
That's the dream, right?
dude, that's the dream. Okay, I don't hate driving. What I hate is parking. My God, like
Yeah.
Or just like at all.
The thought of parking, yes, because I suck at parking, okay? I barely passed my test when it came to like parallel parking. The thought of parallel parking gives me nightmares. Like I wake up in a cold sweat and I'm like, what if the car doesn't fit? And I make a fool of myself, like spending 10 minutes trying to get into the slot. But
Because everyone's been on the other end, right? Where they're
Yeah.
trying to watch someone parallel park and they're just like, come on, it's not that hard. And then when
Yeah.
you actually go to do it, it's like, oh, it's that hard.
I somehow nail like the hard parking and then
Yeah.
take 15 attempts for the shittiest, easiest parking
Really?
when there's like 100 people around me just watching me, like
Yeah.
really embarrassing.
yeah.
But yeah, I wanted to get my license because, I wanted to have the options open because I feel like you can still explore a lot of Japan without a car.
Yeah.
It's just some places, that further
Once you're
out
outside
you
of
go,
Tokyo, you pretty much need a car.
Yeah.
becomes a little more difficult, especially if you want to really explore a lot. Like if you
Yeah.
want to stick to the main tourist stuff, there's buses and
Yeah.
stuff, and you'll be fine. But I wanted to drive, and I mean, nothing goes better with my beep boop Daft Punk music than driving. Like I love driving with music, man. It's so like smacking that wheel,
What? Smacking that wheel one time. You're like
I don't know.
you're like a dad.
Yeah, man, I love it. I love all of it. So I thought, you know what, I'm gonna get my license because if you have a British license in Japan and a select few of the countries, a lot of European ones, they said like America, but only
Yeah.
Hawaii and Alaska. It was like
Oh.
so only Hawaii and Alaska can do it. If you're from any of the countries where you don't, from those countries, you have to do a test.
Why
as
Hawaii and
well.
Alaska?
I have no idea. It wasn't. I don't think it was Hawaii and Alaska. It was Alaska and some other country, some other state, which is really confusing because I'm pretty sure don't they all drive on the same side of the road?
Yeah, I thought so. Right?
I've-
Because the reason why
maybe there's
American
something we don't know.
Yeah, because the reason why Americans have to do a driving test is because we drive on the other side of the road, right? Well, does
think so.
Alaska
I'm-
drive on the same side of the road as
I've-
Japan?
I have no
Alaskans,
idea.
let us know.
Yeah, so I had to go to the DMV, and I knew it was going to be a stressful process because it always is with any driving. And
I mean, that's just universal, but
Yeah.
I can only imagine how stressful it is in Japan.
because
the extra layers you have to do.
right,
of
right,
people.
right,
Yeah.
because you're like, it was already hell in my own country.
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
probably going to be hell again in Japan.
Yeah.
times 2, and I had to bring a translator with me.
Yeah.
So it was just
I'm
awful.
so glad the translator was not me.
I was going to ask Joey,
Yeah.
but then another friend offered, and I'm like,
But then I was like, oh, you're in the DMV? Sorry, I'm busy. I'm busy that day. I can't. I'm not bad, man.
So first, I got to ask, how long were you there for?
I got there at 8:20 in the morning.
Right.
Why so early?
So
Because you have to line up.
yeah, so right now, because I'm not sure if it's because of COVID, but right now, only 10 people are allowed to get a foreign license a day in the whole prefecture.
So it's
What?
like first come, first serve.
Yeah, so whoever's there first gets it. If you don't, you have to come back at 2:30 and wait. But they give out the 2:30 slots
In the
at the
morning.
9 a.m. So I was in the 2:30 slot.
Oh, shit.
So
Jesus.
I queued up at 8:20. I was told on the website it says 9:30. Get there at 9:30.
Yeah.
And then I called them up and I asked, hey, what time should I get there? They said get there for like 8. So I got there at 8:20 because I thought, no one's gonna be there.
Yeah.
There was already like 14 people lined up when I
Oh my
got there.
God.
And so I was in the second bunch. So they only give out 10 licenses a day in the whole prefecture, which is like millions of people
Yeah.
for foreigners. And it's like, what? How is this a thing? Why only 10? Like they just do the first 10, like, right, go home.
At least it wasn't like the bullshit, like, you know when they did like event gotchas and stuff
Right,
like that.
right,
It's
right.
like, it's like here's a ticket, and if you win the ticket, you have a chance to get in.
Well, we'll see. Well, I'll tell you more about the story.
Okay,
Joe.
go on.
So it's like an hour away from me, so I have to get up at like 6 a.m., which is way over my like comfort zone. I can wake up at 8 and be
Like
fine.
anything before 7:30.
I feel like shit
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
whole day.
exactly.
So I get there and we line up, and then I have to wait an hour to get my ticket. So I have to wait an hour to wait more. So I went to Coco's Diner, which is like Coco Ichiban, I think.
Yeah.
Right.
Went there, stayed there for 3.5 hours.
Jesus Christ.
Came back to the place, waited another hour. Finally got to go in. As I'm going in, this couple is like screaming at the employees.
Right.
Right.
Like, what the fuck, or something in Japanese. I remember some of it from anime. So they were saying the bad anime words.
Yeah.
And I was like to Nabby, I was like, what happened? He's like, apparently he didn't have the right documents.
Right.
But before we went in, they gathered us all around and were like, hey, some of you are going to be rejected today for no reason. They literally said that. They said,
What?
They said, we might reject you and not explain why. And I'm like, what?
What is this YouTube demonetization?
Yeah, why? What do you mean? I've come here all day, and you have to bring like so many fucking documents. You have to get like your license translated at a different building.
Yeah,
Wait
yeah.
a few days for that. Go to the ward office, which is another
Yeah.
building. Get proof that you live where you say you live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bring your other license, your passport, literally every single documentation that you were ever a person to begin with.
Yeah.
And and then they grilled me for like an hour, like asking me if
Asking what?
well, so a part of to get the foreign license, you have to prove that you were in the country where you got your license for 6 months.
Yeah.
After the fact. So I brought tons of paperwork proving that I was in the UK at the time when I got it for 6 months, and they just kept grilling me and asking me pointless questions. What I thought,
Right.
Like they asked, like, did you have like a provisional license, which in the UK and I think in America as well, Australia too.
Yeah.
You got a license before the actual license.
Yeah.
They're like, did you have one? I'm like, obviously I had one. I had to drive.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like,
I think who doesn't?
what a
Because
dumb
that's
question.
part of the official process. You
Yeah, you
need a
have to go through-
provisional
yeah,
before
yeah.
before you get a full
Yeah,
license.
I don't think a lot of countries would let you get the full thing without doing
No,
it.
no.
And I said,
I'll speak about Thailand driving.
so I'm like, yeah, of course I had that. And then they're like, how long did it take you to get your license? I'm like, what? What do you mean? What do you mean? How long? Like, did
Right.
it take
Yeah.
like a week, or did you do lessons over a long time? I was like, I did lessons over a long time. Then they're like, oh, how long did you have the provisional for? I'm like, why are you asking? Who cares? Who cares how
Who
long I had
cares?
it for?
You got the full license.
Yeah,
right?
I'm like, I had it for 5 years, and she's like, and then she asked, why did you have it for so long? And I'm like, why does it matter how long? Because in the UK, we don't have ID. We don't
Yeah.
carry around ID.
Yeah.
So most people get the provisional license, even if they don't intend
Yeah,
to drive.
just as
Yeah,
a form
yeah,
of
Just as an
ID.
Yeah.
So I'm here explaining like a cultural difference to her. And
I'm like, so what did you say?
I explained that. I'm like, in the UK, we don't really have ID, so
Yeah.
people will get the ID.
But that's what
even if-
Japanese people do as well. A lot
Is
of
it
the time.
really?
Yeah, there's a lot of like what
Why
we
am
call
I being grilled for this
because
then?
in Japan a lot of people are like known as paper drivers,
Yeah.
which means they have the license,
Yeah.
but they don't have it to drive. They just have it as a form of ID.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the UK, people get provisional licenses because
That's why I got it.
We use licenses to prove that we can get into bars and pubs.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
pretty much the only reason
That's the same in
we
Australia,
get
yeah.
provisional
Yeah.
licenses.
Yeah, so I had to wait an hour, and I was like, "Cool, it's all going well." She seems to be, happy with it. She's like, "Yep, okay, yeah, no problem. Just come back in 2 days." I'm like, "What? What do you mean come back in 2 days?"
Wait, so you didn't even get it?
I didn't get it today. I didn't get it.
Oh
yesterday.
my god! So you haven't got it yet.
No,
After waiting, how long did you waste?
I left at 4 p.m. and I got there at 8 a.m. And it's an hour away
So
from me.
8
as well.
hours.
Yeah, like 8 hours.
You
total.
wasted a whole day
I lost a whole day
to not getting a license.
to get the paperwork to
Okay.
get the license.
Because I remember you telling me just before that you were getting this.
It's all a bunch of fetch quests. This is
Yeah.
why they love. Fuck, this is why all the RPGs in Japan have a bazillion fetch quests. Because living here is a fucking fetch quest. Every time you want to do anything, it's like, okay, get the prerequisite items, they're all in different locations because of course they
Yeah.
are. Like they're not all in the government building because that would be too easy. That would make life too simple.
That's why gacha games work here, because you even have the waiting time, like the loading time, where you like think you got all the items, and then you have to like put it in to like fucking you got to craft the item,
Yeah.
and you got to wait until the item is finished being crafted.
And then you pull the dud gotcha as well because you have to wait till 2:30.
So they said I have to come back on Wednesday, which is tomorrow. So I'm
Yeah.
going there tomorrow
All right.
to do the eye test. That's it. I do the eye test, and once I prove I'm not fucking blind, I get my license.
Imagine if
basic-
they just reject you after that.
I would fucking lose
So
it.
you basically spend 8 hours for someone to tell you come back in 2 days.
Yeah, basically. I know that DMV is bad in all countries, but in the UK, I would never have it that
It wasn't
bad.
that bad. And especially with how many documents you needed to grab before just to get your license, like just to be given a license as well.
Because
crazy.
it's crazy because like Nabi, who went with you, who's a friend of ours, like when he went, he had such an easy time. But I guess it's because he got it before COVID.
I think they've made it a lot slower from COVID. Like apparently, and they also told me that for some reason, because of COVID, the amount of people applying has gone up a lot.
Well, because no one can travel outside of the country,
just
so therefore they want to travel inside.
Yeah,
the country,
true.
right?
But I guess I would have thought the other way around. But yeah, it's just
speaking to you has made me like entirely put me off from wanting to get a
I'm
Japanese
good.
license now.
I'm glad at least someone on Trash Taste now has a license because we're just going to ask you to chauffeur us everywhere.